Ooh, what's happening, man? This is this is still not the UFO UAP video. I'm gonna do that tonight. I'm gonna do the UFO UAP video tonight because I got a lot of cool shit and theories that I haven't heard too many people talk about. I've heard one other person talk about some of them, but I'm gonna go into more detail than what they did. Um, Man, I'm watching fucking It, bro, and it's funny. I'm rewatching a lot of shit lately because I've realized that it's like two different people taking in information. There's the previous iteration of me, and that's on a big scale because there's thousands of iterations of ourselves that we go through. But there's I guess I'll call it the asleep version of me, and then there's the now version of me. I won't say awake because I don't consider where I'm at right now to be, you know, awake or ascended or whatever you want to call that shit. That's all, you know, subjective anyway. But so I'm watching It, and it's come to my attention that this whole fucking series is about, you could say, a Nephilim or the Nephilim. Pennywise is a fallen angel. He is a Nephilim. And I say that, and that probably sounds wild to some people, but go look that shit up. Nephilim clowns. Go look up Nephilim clowns. And this isn't just an assertion by people who want a thing to be true. There's like an entire framework, an entire rabbit hole of, and like a chronological, you know, like avenue that you can follow showing that at least some Nephilim, because there were lots of different types of Nephilim. They were essentially experiments. You know, this was genetic modification in process. You know, think like, fuck, what's that Marvel movie? Think Guardians of the Galaxy 3. 3? 3 or 4, whichever one is the one that's based around Rocket. The main antagonist in that movie, you would probably consider to be the big-headed scientist, which, you know, all these stories have been greatly messed with and manipulated. So just as everybody thinks that Enlil is the disagreeable of the two brothers, it could very well be backwards, you know? Or honestly, I think both of them are probably disagreeable, to be honest with you. Everybody's like, oh, Inky loves us, but that nigga still ain't come back to do nothing to help you, so what what the fuck you talking about? But, man, I digress so much. So yeah, It is depicting a Nephilim, just in its entirety. Its appearance is a straight Nephilim, red hair, sharp jaws, shapeshifter, can become a giant, eats children. In the second movie, I'm watching the first one now. When I made this connection in my brain, I was like, I'm finna watch both of these movies right now. Because I've seen them before. Obviously, you know how much I like horror movies, but I watched it like a horror movie. Now I'm watching it like soft disclosure. Like, and it's all there. I didn't think of any of this stuff when I went to watch these movies, but Pennywise is a fucking fallen angel. Pennywise is a Nephilim. And we all float down here. You'll float too. The flood, you know, the deluge, like, or the deluge. I don't remember how to say that. The flood. He's making a reference to the flood. Like, this entire story is about a Nephilim. Hey man, Stephen King is a weirdo, bruh. Stephen King is a weirdo. He's a Shakespeare. He's a who else? Shakespeare, Confucius, maybe Hermes, thrice great. You know, Hermes Trismegistus might also be a Shakespeare. Like, and when I say that, what I mean is these beings that are credited with writing all these works were not one person. It was either a group of people or a secret order, or, you know, regardless, a compilation of people's works that loosely fell together. Like, these weren't the works of one person. Confucius was not one person. Shakespeare was not one person. There's lots of stories, or lots of authors that fits. But yeah, Stephen King, I think, falls into that in a way. He might have been the person to write these things, but somebody prompted him and gave him material to write about. Either that, or he's in an order. And I wouldn't, you know, doubt that by any means. Maybe he could be OTO, very likely a Mason. But I don't see a lot of Masonic symbolism in his shit. It's just a lot of occult and esoteric stuff. I'm not crazy about a lot of his work, but you can definitely break down things in a different way than many people do, because I haven't heard of anyone put that together. And it makes me, I rewatched, or I didn't rewatch, I watched the new remake of, the fuck is that movie called? The new remake of another one of his books, Pet Cemetery. And I kind of liked it, I kind of didn't like it. There were some cool, like, flush outs of the backstory. There were 13 families. That nigga's a Mason, bro. Holy shit. Stephen King's a fucking Mason. I'm just not realizing this shit. I guess that's pretty obvious to some of y'all, though. But, yeah, man. Some of his works are pointless and stupid. Like, Cujo was dumb to me. Just a movie about a dog with rabies. I don't know why people like that so much. It was boring. But, other works of his, see, that's what makes me think that he's fed things, because he wrote Cujo. The same nigga that wrote Cujo wrote this, wrote it. Like, this is dense work. This is very, very in-depth, esoteric work. Like, this is, it's not an allegory. I don't know what to call it, but I guess it's an occult piece, because he's speaking on the Nephilim, but it's not at all, like, overt. It's all covert. And I thought it was just going to be, like, a movie about a Nephilim, but there's phrases in it, there's symbolism in it, the fact that he eats children, like, the entire movie is just about a Nephilim. And it also points to one of the theories that people have about agreeable beings living past the deluge, the flood, that they went underground. Where is Pennywise most of the time? Pennywise is under the ground. He's in the sewer. He's below the library. Like, it's just an entire movie talking about different aspects of Nephilim. And there's a channel called Understanding Conspiracy. I think I've talked about it before. He is, credit where credit's due, he's the one that brought me to the fact that clowns and jesters are based on Nephilim creatures. He covers some other stuff every now and again, but that's his whole thing. His whole thing is fucking Nephilim are clowns. He's got a lot of episodes on it. He doesn't just cover Western civilization. He also covers Eastern civilization. He's got, different videos talking about different versions of the same creatures, of the same beings. And if you think about it, there is a consistency. There's a consistency. If you think about the kabuki masks in Japan, white face, very, very crazy looking makeup, red around the mouth, white face, very intense eyes. The masks that they wore, the dragon masks and demon masks and stuff like that, also look like clowns. Like, it stands to reason that the clown is generally just reverence for Nephilim. And that would explain why the Shriners are so into clown work. Like, they do a lot of clown stuff. Example being Ronald McDonald, and why they're associated with kids. Dude, this place is fucking weird. This place is fucking weird, bruh. Like, the more that I study and the more that I come to find out and realize, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And it makes me look at the average group of people that much more sideways, because everyone is just fucking comfortable with this shit. And then when you start to talk about it, they look at you like you're nuts. But I'm not even gonna waste the time in doing visuals on the Nephilim clown connection, because there's already an entire channel that is dedicated to it. Understanding Conspiracy. Go look for yourself. This dude has done a significant amount of research. He either wrote a book or is writing a book, but his research is solid. I don't necessarily love him too much as a person, because he's very judgmental. He had some goofy shit to say about the Gnostics, and he's very, very Abrahamic and religious minded. But at the same time, though, he did put this together. He put together that, these clowns that, if you think about it, a lot of people have a very real, intense fear of clowns. And they say things that I used to think, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's gonna eat me. It's gonna kill me. That's genetic. It's built into your genes, because they used to eat us. They ate us. We were their prey. So that's not them having an irrational fear like people tell them and put them in therapy and put them on medications for. It's programmed into their DNA to be fearful and to be cautious of clowns, because your DNA recognizes them as your predator. They didn't always have to be giants, and they didn't have to be your size either. They can look at this nigga. Giant. They could change size. The entire movie is just about one Nephilim causing havoc in a small town, and he's intelligent enough to hide himself and to only reveal himself to kids unless he's going to directly eat you right then. It's insane. It's insane. Another thing that I'll say is it's really cool to be able to apply your studies and research, because if I didn't do what I'm doing right now with all the reading and listening to lectures and all the research and all this shit that I'm doing, I would have never realized this. I would have just thought this was a movie about a fear of clowns. And I've never had a fear of clowns myself, but like they are weird. I've always thought they were weird. I never wanted a clown at my birthday. I'm not going to your birthday if there's a fucking clown because they're weird. Like what I've always thought to myself, what is the purpose of that? Where did that come from? And now I know. And to give understanding conspiracy another like nod, dude has a video. I don't know which one it is because he's got plenty of them, but he has a video where he's chronologically showing, you know, from the beginning, the time that they were, you know, off and cracking, eating people, doing all kinds of weird sexual stuff, you know, necrosexual stuff, because they're nuts. They weren't rational in the way that we consider rational to be, which is also not rational, but not as we would have been comfortable with. They maybe would be eating and humping something at the same time, you know, and it wouldn't have made a difference to them. That's just how they got down. But he did a chronological breakdown of them, you know, living in public, because I believe that they're still here, but they've evolved mentally, you know. They realize like, okay, there's a lot less of us now, and they have much more technology. Maybe I should be doing this shit on the fly. Or maybe the way that people view reptilians, they think that there are humans that kidnap a bunch of people and give them to the reptilians and worship them and shit. Why wouldn't that also be the same for these beings, for Nephilim? If you can do all of these things that people would consider to be magic and miracles and horrors, why wouldn't you post up underground and just build a kingdom underground and have them bring food to you? Think about how many people go missing every year. Every single year, from national parks, from metropolitan areas, from rural areas, everywhere. They have whole rings. People are so mystified and covetous of money. That's all you have to offer them. Or positions of power. My brain is going, like, right now. Just the interpretation of this movie is leading me to all these dots. And it's disturbing. What if all of these beings work together? Like, sometimes I have to remind myself that it doesn't have to be a binary. It doesn't have to be either or. It can be all. So there could be black goo, a biological organic intelligence that doesn't take a specific form. There could be reptilian-based creatures, or even humans that operate from their root chakra to a high level, meaning the reptilian brain, and people have just taken that and turned it into like a physical representation of reptilians. Could be either. I could see either. I'm not weirded out by the possibility of things that exist that we don't see, because we already don't see very much on the spectrum that we can see through anyway. There could be something standing right next to you and you wouldn't know it. And then there could be these Nephilim. And whether you were related to each other or not, if you all had lived for thousands of years, or however long this place has existed, because to me it could just as easily be a few hundred years, wouldn't it work to your benefit to work together? You've all been alive for the same amount of time or similar amounts of time. There's one group of beings that you all just so happen to eat and use as tools, that think you're real but don't know that you are unless you see them, and then you don't let them get away. Wouldn't it make more sense for you to have an agreement, some kind of arrangement, not even necessarily to work together, but to not work against each other? If you're all underground anyway, because that's the only real direction to go that goes anywhere, rather than up like everyone has been looking. If you're all down there, you would have to have some sort of arrangement anyway so that you don't encroach on each other's space. Damn. This shit is this shit's cracking off in my head, bro. 1,000 miles an hour. 3 different streams of thought. I'm just trying to lace them together so it makes more sense. And my thing is, like, I take in information, but unless I can either see a decent amount of evidence of it, like physical evidence of it, or I have direct experience with it, then I don't fully accept it to be real or true, you know? So, I mean, I take all this with a grain of salt, but at the same time, if there's enough text and paintings and pictures and depictions and all this shit of the same thing, then, I mean, that gives it more credibility. I won't say I believe in it at that point, but it does give it more credibility, because nothing is truly real. There is no one explanation for a thing most of the time. I think that's one of the ways that whoever has us here got us, is that we all feel like we have to define things, and then we have to defend that definition to other people and push them off their definition into our definition. We're all focused on the wrong shit, and they're slapping this shit in your face, in our faces, and all we can do is argue about it instead of trying to put the pieces together, realizing there are multiple versions of the same piece, and trying to make some kind of sense of this place that actually makes that makes a difference. Because I'm almost I'm almost pissed off over this movie, bruh. Over these movies. Because look at all the clowns in our society. Physical ones and depictions of them. And they're always like, oh, it's for the kids. Meanwhile, it's based on beings that used to eat us and our children. It's a trip, man. It's a trip. The abilities that Pennywise has are they match up. Influencing people to have hallucinations, being able to open domains and bring people into them, like Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger also might have been nephilim. The depiction. But they gave an explanation for Freddy Krueger, though. So maybe not. It is interesting that he was in your dreams, though. Very interesting. Regardless of any of that, though, bro, these movies are hard as fuck, the new ones. The first one was lame as fuck, but they did a good job with the effects and the writing and the acting. Quality shit. I guess I just find it offensive. Because it's like a slap in the face. And making you love the slap in the face. People love these fucking movies. People dress up like Pennywise all the time. Meanwhile, it's about a nigga who ate you. It's about beings that ate us. Direct enemies. And I mean, they were raping and pillaging and eating. They forced their way into being kings and monarchs. It's crazy, man. And then when he shows his real face, like that's some true Nephilim shit. When he opens up his mouth and he's got the claws and shit, and his eyes start to glow, like there's so many accounts. I mean, it's not even like loose. I'm pretty sure that was the intent, was to write a story about Nephilim. I haven't read the book before. I wonder if he says it in the book that that's what it's talking about. Because, I will say, when they make books for him, or when they make movies, when they adapt his shit into movies, they cut a lot of stuff out. So there is, I guess, a possibility that he says so in the books, but I haven't heard not one person say that, or talk about it, or make a video about it, or none of that. So I really doubt it. I got little ghost stalkers watching my videos, so I'm sure some big platform's gonna have a video talking about this shit soon. That's cool though. Get it out. I don't give a fuck if you copy me. Just don't do it, to a point that is super noticeable. And don't be a lame. Is all I really care about with that. I don't know, man. I just wanted to share these thoughts though, because it's not mind-blowing, but it's definitely fucking my head up. The more of the movie that passes by, the more obvious it is. This is a fallen angel. And by that, let me clarify, because I don't know if I believe in angels and demons or aliens. I think we're so obsessed with not only defining things, but making sure that our definition is seen as the right or the truth. We don't know shit, dude. And I'm going to keep saying that. This isn't the first time I've said that. We don't know shit. We're not going to be able to confirm it. There's no point in all this arguing with people about it, because in the end, you can keep saying, oh, well, I know this because of this, but they don't know shit. The people that you're giving enough, credit to for their, their assertions and their work and their text to be correct, they don't know shit either. And a lot more hands have touched it before you get into it anyway. So, I guess what my point is, those are just words. That's not real, those are just words. Alien, angel, demon, monster, these are all just mouth sounds that we make to try to make more sense out of the unknown. So, I don't know, I just wanted to put this up.